It's early Saturday morning, and already there are enough Amishmen to begin. Throughout the day, they'll come by horse and buggy, by car and bike, and those who live within a mile or two will probably just walk. A shelter tent has been set up for the spectators and the lunch area. Nobody knows for sure how many helpers will show up throughout the day, but rest assured it will be in the hundreds. The skeletal frames have all been pre-assembled and are ready to be hoisted into place. These scenes are like nothing else on earth. These scenes are an edited collection from an Amish barn raising. Junior Miller is the son of the most famous barn builder of all, Josie Miller, and he is carrying on the family tradition, acting as his father's assistant in the planning and oversight of barn raisings wherever one is needed. When a farmer needs a new barn because his burned down or for any cause, the farmer approaches Josie at his place and they talk size and go over any special needs that the farmer might have. Then Josie orders the wood needed. Most of it comes from the local Ohio lumber mills. Usually oak is the wood of choice, but not always. Most other hardwoods work just as well. Preceding the actual barn raising, 2 to 3 weeks of journeyman work begins after the lumber comes in. The foundation will be laid out a week or two beforehand, and the lumber is laid out and cut, usually on location. Invitations will then be mailed out to neighbors, church members, and friends. Word will spread quickly that next Saturday is the barn raising. Most barn raisings take place on a Saturday because it's generally a day off for all those who are involved. Before Junior Miller begins, like his father, he first lowers his head in prayer. My guess is he's asking the Lord for 2 small favors. First and foremost, that no one gets hurt during this barn raising. And second, that the more than 1,000 mortise and tenon joints fit together properly. They should fit. They have all been expertly milled, chiseled, and drilled by hand. That's the timberwright's job, and a fine job he does. In the past, Junior remembers a time when 10 to 12 barn raisings took place every year. That number has been significantly reduced, but Junior leads a group of builders which operate as a regular construction crew. The bents, large skeletal framework sections of the barn, are fitted together first on the ground. Some will weigh as much as a ton. At least 1 man per foot of bent is needed to hoist, pull, and push these heavy pieces of barn skeleton into place. For the first wall, about 60 men, standing shoulder to shoulder, work together. Some heavy-bearing walls can require 80 to 100 men. During a late spring thunderstorm, bolts of lightning were flashing throughout the county. One bolt hit the barn of Eli Yoder, and it exploded into flames. An Amish farmer's worst nightmare. Only this wasn't a dream. The family rushes to open the barn doors and shoo out as many of the animals before they begin risking their own safety. This fire started in the hayloft and gave Mr. and Mrs. Yoder time to get almost all of the horses and cows out. By the time an English neighbor with a phone calls the fire department, the blaze has worked its way through the roof, and a billowing cloud of smoke and red sky tells the whole county what has happened. Firemen arrive and make sure the fire stays contained to the barn and doesn't spread to the house or any of the other outbuildings. An unlikely event in this situation since it's pouring buckets. Tomorrow, cleanup will begin and plans will be made for replacing the barn as soon as it is humanly possible, sometimes in as little as a few weeks. It's bad enough when an Amish farmer loses his barn to a bolt of lightning, what he considers an act of God. However, many an Amish barn has burned to the ground due to an arsonist. The Amish don't put lightning rods on their barns, believing that to do so would show a lack of faith. An Amish barn raising is an event that has been associated to the word Amish itself. But barn raisings are not necessarily an Amish tradition. In early colonial America, settlers lacked the type of construction equipment needed to construct large buildings or barns. Colonials would organize a public event where neighbors and community members would help in raising a building or someone's barn. The Amish have continued this American tradition in keeping with their close community ties and their efforts to retain old world customs. Unfortunately, Amish barn raisings are far less frequent as they were a few generations ago. Most barn raisings today are replacement barns for an Amish farmer who lost his barn to fire. Generations ago, most barn raisings were to build a new barn for a young Amish family getting started on their new farm. New farms, however, are a thing of the past. There just isn't enough farmland available or affordable for the young Amish man starting out in life. The price of country acreage around Amish communities has skyrocketed in the cost per acre, putting even small 40 or 50 acre tracts out of reach. The majority of Americans now live in cities, and very few new barns are being built. Only the Amish and Old Order Mennonites who still practice traditional farming continue to build new barns and repair the old ones. In 1900, about half of America still lived on farms. Today, less than 2% of Americans list farming as their occupation. That percentage is much greater among the Amish, but also dwindles with every passing year. Barn building in America reached its peak more than a century ago. Traveling throughout the Ohio Valley, one cannot help but notice the many spectacular barns, both Amish and English. Anyone non-Amish are referred to as English by the Amish. At the foot of the bent, men use steel pry bars to keep the bottom from kicking out over the edge. Preparation for a barn raising such as this for Josie and Junior Miller includes site visitation, where they make preliminary sketches based on the lay of the land, or in the case of a barn burnt, what the original dimensions were and if they should be altered. Once the wall is shoulder high, another group of men with spiked poles push the bent high enough that the heavy ropes tied to the top of the bent can help pull the wall up and prevent it from falling back down.
Do that barn there. There you go. Now sheave it. It's easy. Hold that bar in. So in that there you go. Now what?
In colonial America, every man was a farmer. Amish and English alike. Barns were almost always built larger than the family home. The barn allowed many farmers to gain a good degree of working independence. For the Amish farmer today, this still holds true. Amish families wish to be as independent from the influences of the outside world as possible. For the Amish, the barn also serves as a social center where church is held, as well as funerals, marriages, and adult baptisms. It's a playground for Amish children and a dance hall for Amish teens. You can clearly see that the wood beams used here all look new. This is not always the case, however. Sometimes hand-hewn beams and boards are recovered from older barns that need to be removed. The Amish will dismantle an old or dilapidated barn in order to reuse its parts for ones they're repairing or rebuilding elsewhere. A barn raising among the Amish is like a holiday from the normal daily routine, and although the work may be harder than the home chores, there's a bit of horseplay and friendly competition among the men that you don't find at other events. When the Amish get together to rebuild a barn or house or to help their neighbor with farming chores they've fallen behind on, they call it a frolic, an old Dutch expression. For the Amish, there is so much joy in helping thy neighbor. In their language, it's a frolic, a playful, carefree time. This center-bearing wall is extremely heavy and is taking about 80 men to push and pull it into place. Watching a barn raising is fascinating for a whole variety of reasons. It's a communal effort to achieve in a day what would normally take a week. It demonstrates the power of an organized crowd. It's amazing to watch hundreds of men who have never worked together before like this work with such synergy and cooperation. In the event that a totally new barn, a built barn instead of a burnt barn, needs to be built, more men will be needed. A lot depends on the size of the structure, because the process can involve as many as 100 to 600 men. Junior Miller remembers one barn that required 700 men. When you consider how many helpers there are, it's easy to understand how they can build a barn in just one day. If a barn is destroyed due to arson, lightning, or a tornado, the outpouring of support is even greater. Everyone in the entire Amish community will be invited, including English friends and neighbors. If a barn was destroyed, a lot of construction crews who normally are paid for their services will donate their labor free of charge for this day. Serious injuries are rare, but can and do sometimes happen. Usually there's nothing worse than a few smashed thumbs and a few more splinters. I have seen hammers, nails, and trimmed pieces of wood fall from the rooftop and miraculously hitting only the ground. The women make a hearty feast comparable to a wedding, but a barn raising has no religious overtones to command restraint. These timber beams are joined by the common joint called mortise and tenon. The side braces are called wind or sway braces because they prevent lateral movement in the frame. They also keep the barn plumb, square, and level. This added strength is particularly important in barn construction since such large areas of sheeting or siding are subject to strong winds. These oak beam walls and braces are connected by wood pegs, which, unlike nails, can never rust away. The mortise and tenon joint has been used as far back as ancient Greece, where it was used in trusses, and it was used in ancient Egyptian structures. Barns need more bracing than houses because they lack interior walls and floors that give a house stiffness. Floors on the barn will be thicker to sustain the weight of animals and wagons full of corn, hay, or tobacco. No two barns are exactly alike. Barn designs changed with the evolving farm practices and technological innovations, even Amish barns. Barn designs also reflect customs and culture and the kind of crops and animals the farm will produce, raise, and harvest. Does the farmer have cows and horses? Is this a dairy farm, tobacco farm, or poultry? All these factors affect the shape of the barn design. The type of weather it will be exposed to and what type of building materials are available will also affect the barn design. The barn is the farmer's most important tool. They might be considered America's first industrial buildings. Love is always a happening. It's very easy to write and talk about love, but to truly love, we must act. A barn raising is just that, an act of love. Imagine the bonds of friendship developed at these events. They will last forever. It's so easy to write a check or talk about helping one another, It's another thing to give of your time and energy and create something that will last for generations. While watching the skeletal walls of this barn being constructed, I was thinking about how wood is truly one of God's greatest creations, arguably the greatest of all materials known to man. From wood we build our houses and barns, heat them, make our furniture, and fashion many a tool. Wood is an excellent insulator, and it's a poor transmitter of sound, keeping noise and the cold out and warmth in. On top of all that, wood, having been alive, has a richness and a beauty and a warmth unsurpassed by other materials. The pores of wood absorb and hold stain, paint, and varnish. Perhaps the most amazing product in nature. Defects in wood can usually be seen, and wood can be easily carved into intricate and useful shapes using common tools. Well, it's about 10 a.m. and the buggy field is about as full as it's going to get. There are over 200 men working on the outside and inside of this barn all at once. According to Junior Miller, the longest barn his dad ever built was 130 feet long, and the widest was 82 feet wide. If you think about it, building a really wide barn is much more difficult than building a long one because of the huge support trusses that must be erected. For a big barn such as this, approximately 25,000 board feet of lumber will be used, 150 pounds of spikes, and 100 pounds of siding nails, according to Junior Miller, the son of Josie. The Amish children seem to alternate between playing and watching the barn raising throughout the day. As our world has become more and more modernized, fewer families are living on farms, and many old barns have reached the end of their useful lives and are disappearing rapidly. Some modern farms don't even need a barn. Instead, silage is kept in the field, stored in those huge black or white casings that line the field like gigantic marshmallows or sausage.
There is not another sister, friend, or brother loves the way Jesus can. He proved his love for me when he died on Calvary. He gave his life for falling man. His love is a boundless love, and it reaches down and touches me. His love is an endless love that will last through all eternity. Jesus wants to love you, there is none above you. You are precious in his sight. He will never fail you when the doubts assail you. He'll be with you day and night. His love throughout eternity. His love, His love, His love is a boundless love. His love, His love, His love is a boundless love.
The American barn and farm is one of the rare symbols that immediately evoke our national heritage, the American pioneer spirit of hard work and cultural values that combine to build our country. The barn also reminds us that we are originally a nation of immigrants, settlers, and farmers. The Amish settled here in the mid-1700s and helped create the American farmstead. The Amish believe there is much joy felt when you are selfless, when you like being ordinary, basically being nobody special, just a helpful part of the whole. Throughout history, various religious traditions have taught us that a holy man is an ordinary man who loves ordinary life, chopping wood, feeding chickens, cooking, helping others. Whatsoever he touches becomes holy. It's not that he is doing such great things, but whatsoever he does it lovingly, and therefore he does it greatly. The greatness is not in the thing done. The greatness is in the selfless love that you bring while you do it. Indeed, there are many men and women at this barn raising who don't even personally know the owner. When someone learns about the Amish for the first time, their fascination is greatly enhanced by seeing the connection that the Amish have with their past and their religious heritage. Although the Amish appear different to us, everything they do is based on the past and their determination to maintain and preserve their religious values for future generations. And at the same time, they wish to live in this present-day society, which is itself always changing. When you compare their lifestyle with the lifestyle of the average American, there is a stark contrast. One of the many lessons the Amish lifestyle teaches us is to reflect upon our own life and see what way we can simplify our own life. They believe they are truly blessed to be in a community where people help each other, know each other, and communicate with each other on a daily basis. They know how to relax, which is another lesson we should try to emulate from them. Most Americans are just too busy and are in a hurry all the time. Amish business people and farmers have shown themselves to be very innovative despite their strict limitations with their use of technology. They will supply their power needs with diesel motors, horses, and even solar panels. They do not need the latest technological gadget to succeed in business. They resist the use of fax machines, voicemail, and computers to increase their business, but some of them have had to set up remote site locations for such devices in order to just survive. Most Amish purchase their non-electrical items through Lehman's Hardware in Kidron, Ohio. Sitting atop the bench wagon gives these boys a better view of what's going on, including watching me videotaping them. The Amish have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Their cell-phone businesses are usually successful, but not at the cost of everything else. They cannot and will not neglect their family and community in order to achieve success and make a lot of money. Because each church district has its own set of rules, values are maintained in such a way as to allow the Amish farmer or business person to become prosperous without the constant pressure of being overwhelmed at the expense of their society. For Amish youth, an important source of learning is working and acquiring new skills. At an early age, Amish boys and girls are given chores both around the house and on the farm. The Amish believe chores teach the values of hard work and responsibility. They also teach how to deal with the conflicting emotions associated with the joy and, more often for children, the monotony that can come from work. This teaches children early that there are consequences, both positive and negative, associated with one's actions. When Amish children come home from school, they have more than just homework to do. After-school chores can vary from taking care of younger siblings to simple but important farm chores. Young Amish girls learn how to cook, sew, clean house, and do laundry, working side by side with both older sister and mother. Young boys begin helping their father with farm work or whatever other business the family may be involved with. Oh well, I guess boys will be boys.
All the way to the cross seems so weary and long. Try us all, take away our song. And we sigh and we cry and we ask, Father, why does this life our wishes all deny? My ways, my child, are not yours. My thoughts
Here's a chore a group of young Amish girls and teens have taken on, setting up the benches for lunch. The bench wagon contains the church benches used by one church district. It goes from house to house every 2 weeks on a rotating basis. Why every 2 weeks? Because the Amish have church every other Sunday. Amish women have a lot of work to do to prepare for a barn raising. They must prepare an enormous amount of food for all of the workers. Workers will eat in shifts, or hitches as the Amish prefer to call it. This allows the work to go on continuously. Most barn raising lunches are like a potluck dinner where you stand single file and load your plate up with traditional Amish fare. Chicken, meatloaf, roast beef, mashed potatoes, and of course date nut pudding for dessert. Oh, and pies. Lots and lots of pies. It is usually the farmer who needs the barn built who provides the food for all of his free laborers, and the women do all the planning, cooking, serving, and cleaning. If the barn raising is a burnt barn raising, the Amish term for it, then all the food and labor is totally donated. The first Amish came to America in 1737 to escape religious persecution. Both the Amish and Mennonites are part of the Anabaptist movement, which originated around the time of the Reformation. Anabaptists believe that only adults who have confessed their faith should be baptized, and that they should be visibly separate from the world. The early Anabaptists were considered heretics by both Catholics and Protestants, and were persecuted and executed. Hunted down by bounty hunters, they fled to the mountains of Switzerland and southern Germany. Here began the Amish traditions of self-sufficiency through living off the land and holding their worship services in houses, barns, and caves. In 1536, a young Catholic priest from Holland named Menno Simons joined the Anabaptist movement and provided new leadership, uniting the many Anabaptist groups. They became known as Mennonites. In 1693, a Swiss Mennonite bishop named Jacob Ammann broke from the Mennonite church over biblical interpretations. His followers were called Amish. Today, there are a lot of different Amish and Mennonite denominations, differing in matters of dress, use of technology, language, form of worship, and biblical interpretation. The Amish and Mennonites share the same beliefs about adult baptism, non-resistance, and basic biblical doctrines. Most of the Amish today remain a private people who believe God has kept them together despite pressures to change from the modern world. Old Order Amish drive horse and buggies, do not have electricity in their homes, and choose to examine change and new technologies carefully before they accept it. If a new idea or gadget does not assist in keeping their lives simple and their families together, they will simply reject it. There is no single governing body for the entire Amish community. The Amish community is divided into church districts, and each district decides for itself what it will and will not accept, sometimes right down to the allowable length of the brim of one's hat. The Amish are not perfect, nor do they profess to be. They are, however, a perfect example of a community that supports and cares for its members and its neighbors. The lofts and walls will support tons of hay, stacked almost to the ceiling. As the barn nears completion, some workers will need to head for home. Most workers are now working inside the barn. The Amish like to define the word joy, J-O-Y, as follows. Jesus is first, others are second, and you are last. To the Amish, teamwork, along with hard work, results in everyone taking the credit, not just one person. American society has placed a tremendous burden on individuals to compete and achieve, with only one being the winner. Imagine an American corporation trying to build a barn in one day. This would involve tons of paperwork, bureaucracy with negotiated agreements between labor and management, plus all the backstabbing and office politics to make sure someone receives all the credit. This is so unnatural to a person that is Amish. Getting that barn built the right way overrides anything else. Helping each other is the basis for their religion. They don't want an award or any type of recognition for helping someone else. Humility is also part of their religious teaching, so to proclaim oneself as somebody special is destructive because it is based on individualism and not on the community. Usually at a barn raising, boys and girls are given very small tasks to complete. Most of their time is spent socializing and making new friends. Amish children attend school only through the 8th grade. After school, they work on their family's farm or business. The Amish believe that their children do not need formal education. The Amish have fought to keep their children out of public schools. They took their fight all the way to the Supreme Court. In 1972, the court handed down a landmark unanimous decision which exempted the Amish from state compulsory attendance beyond the 8th grade. Today, however, there are some more progressive Mennonites in Amish who do attend high school and sometimes even college. What an extraordinary day this has been for everyone, both participants and spectators alike. Amish children and teens have had the whole day to make new friends. Young Amish boys have learned that they too can help make a difference by lending a hand wherever needed. It's 4 o'clock and the barn is 90% finished. Straw and hay deliveries will begin to fill the new barn, much of it donated. Families are beginning to go home to take care of their own chores. Many peek inside one last time to marvel at the inside structure. Finishing crews will take care of the completion of the front doors, the corn crib, and the stalls. Young Amish wives sip lemonade as their husbands finish the details. The Amish children share last goodbyes. The cleanup crew walks the eating area and picks up any litter or debris. Those close neighbors and friends who can will stay until dusk and reminisce. Those who are heading for home leave with the confidence and certainty that if ever his time came when he needed to call upon his Amish neighbors and community, they would be there for him. Amish Country, Ohio. The Amish, so reminiscent of American pioneers, inspire in us both curiosity and admiration. This video offers hundreds of extraordinary spontaneous scenes, coupled with authoritative narration and hauntingly nostalgic musical selections. An Amish Country Adventure captures not only the backroads, beauty, and charm of Amish farmsteads and country scenery, but also introduces the viewer to the richness and complexities of the Amish faith. Come with us and explore the backroads to Berlin, Charm, Mount Hope, Walnut Creek, Winesburg, Kilbuck, and Middlefield. See farmlands rich in wildlife, exotic animals, livestock, and vast fields of whispering wheat. You'll relish the scenic beauty of breathtaking vistas and lush valleys unequaled in their profusion of country visionary delights. See Amish families working and playing together on their stately farmsteads. Witness an Amish barn raising where hundreds of neighbors and friends collectively donate their time, talents, and resources to accomplish in a day what would normally take a week. Thrill to Behold, one of America's 3 surviving cycloramas, a 360-degree hand-painted mural of Amish history. It's 265 feet long and 10 feet high. Leave the 20th century behind as you visit 2 Amish farms and tour both Old Order and New Order Amish houses. You'll feel like you've traveled back in time to a lifestyle of yesteryear, still cherished and revered by the Amish community. An Amish Country Adventure has been one of our best-selling videos since 1994. It contains over 80 minutes of some of the most spontaneous country scenery ever caught on film. Educational, entertaining, and inspiring, An Amish Country Adventure is a video your family will enjoy watching again and again.